They say some of the most powerful secrets in the world are hidden in books. But what happens when those books are taken away? What happens when sacred texts, once read by millions, suddenly vanish from the Bible most people know today? This is the mystery of the Ethiopian Bible, a Bible some say was banned. Think about it. The Bible you grew up with, 66 books if you're Protestant, 73 if you're Catholic, is not the whole story. There exists another Bible in Africa, older than many European traditions, with books you have never seen in your Sunday school, stories never preached in your churches, wisdom never printed in the pages handed to you. The Ethiopian Bible contains 81 books in total, far more than the 66 of the Protestant Bible and even the 73 of the Catholic Bible. For centuries, the Ethiopian Bible included Enoch, Jubilees, Meqabyan, and other writings the rest of the Christian world erased. And here is the shocking part, those books were not just forgotten, they were deliberately excluded, suppressed, even destroyed. And to many, that felt like a ban. Before I continue the story, please hit that subscribe button, like, and share this video with your loved ones. I'd also love to know where you are watching from, so drop it in the comments. Thank you. So why was the Ethiopian Bible banned? To answer that, we must go back nearly 2,000 years, to when Ethiopia first embraced Christianity. According to the Book of Acts, an Ethiopian court official was baptized by Philip the Apostle. That moment planted the seed of faith in Africa long before Europe ever dreamed of cathedrals or printing presses. Ethiopia became one of the first nations to declare Christianity its state religion, centuries before much of Europe. And because they were so early, Ethiopian Christians formed their own canon of scripture. They kept books that spoke of angels, visions, cosmic battles, and secret knowledge. Books that gave a window into mysteries many churches would later turn away from. Take the Book of Enoch. In it, we read of fallen angels, the Watchers, who descended to earth and shared forbidden wisdom with humans. It tells of giants born from their union with women. It gives visions of heaven, of judgment, and of the coming of the Son of Man. This book was quoted in the New Testament itself, yet somehow, centuries later, it vanished from nearly every Bible on earth, except in Ethiopia. Was it too dangerous? Too mystical? Too revealing? Or the Book of Jubilees, which rewrites Genesis and Exodus with astonishing detail. It lays out divine calendars, hidden laws, and angelic instructions. It reads almost like heaven's secret diary of creation. Again, preserved in Ethiopia, erased elsewhere. And the 3 books of Meqabyan, not the same as the European Maccabees, completely unique to the Ethiopian canon. Stories of faith, rebellion, and divine justice that most Christians outside Ethiopia have never even heard of. Now pause for a second. Imagine you are a church leader in Europe, centuries ago, trying to create a uniform canon for millions of believers. Do you allow these strange, mystical, apocalyptic books to remain? Or do you strike them out? This is exactly what happened in history. In the 4th century, church fathers like Athanasius began listing which books should be read in churches. Later, powerful councils like the Council of Laodicea, the Council of Carthage, and centuries later, the Council of Trent, finalized their decisions. What they included became canon. What they excluded was branded apocrypha, books not fit for worship. Among the excluded were Enoch, Jubilees, and the very books the Ethiopian church had guarded for centuries. From that moment on, Europe's Christianity moved in one direction, Ethiopia's in another. But here is where the ban begins to feel real. Once Europe gained printing presses in the 15th century, its version of the Bible, leaner, controlled, stripped of Ethiopia's treasures, spread across the world. First Catholic Bibles, then Protestant Bibles, and finally the 66-book Protestant edition that became the most mass-produced book in history. And with every copy that rolled off the press, Ethiopia's version became more invisible. Preachers began to say, "These are the only books that are holy." Missionaries carried these edited Bibles into Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Generations grew up never knowing that more existed. This was not an official government ban, but when the whole world tells you your books do not belong, when your canon is erased from every mass-printed Bible, when your texts are branded apocrypha or even heresy, it feels exactly like a ban. And Ethiopia did not only face silence. At times, its Bible faced fire. In the 16th century, Ethiopia was invaded by Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Ghazi, a Muslim leader whose armies swept across the highlands. Churches were torched. Monasteries were plundered. Priceless manuscripts, handwritten, preserved for centuries, went up in flames. Whole libraries of sacred knowledge vanished forever. What better way to erase a people's story than to burn their books? Then came the Jesuits in the 17th century. Emperor Susenyos opened the door to Catholic missionaries. The Jesuits came not only with Rome's theology but also with Rome's Bible. They mocked Ethiopia's canon. They pressured the emperor to abandon his people's scripture and embrace theirs. For years, Ethiopia was torn apart by religious conflict. Families divided. Churches split. At one point, Ethiopia's own emperor outlawed traditional worship in favor of Rome's. Imagine that, in their own homeland, Ethiopians were told their Bible was wrong. If that is not a ban, what is? The people resisted. Susenyos eventually abdicated, and his son Phasilides restored Ethiopia's church and cast out the Jesuits. But the scars remained. The Ethiopian Bible had been attacked not only by fire but by foreign tongues declaring it invalid. Even in modern times, the pressure never fully stopped. When European colonizers carved up Africa in the 19th century, they brought with them their schools, their churches, and their 66-book Bibles. The Ethiopian canon was dismissed as strange, exotic, even primitive. Under Ethiopia's communist Derg regime in the 20th century, religion itself was restricted. Monks were persecuted, churches closed, the Bible suppressed from public life. And so, across centuries, we see the same pattern: books excluded by councils, burned by invaders, mocked by missionaries, restricted by regimes, drowned out by printing presses. That is why today, people say the Ethiopian Bible was banned. But here is the twist. Despite all these forces, despite centuries of attempts to silence it, Ethiopia's Bible never died. The monks in the highlands copied it by hand, line by line, in Guizi. Families passed the stories down in worship and song. The Garima Gospels, manuscripts believed to date back to the 4th or 5th century, survived untouched in Ethiopia, some of the oldest Christian books on earth. And in the 19th century, when European scholars rediscovered Enoch and Jubilees, they found them not in Rome, not in London, but in the mountains of Ethiopia, preserved by the very people whose Bible the world had tried to erase. So yes, you could say the Ethiopian Bible was banned, not by one decree, not by one empire, but by centuries of suppression, exclusion, and destruction. And yet, it outlived the bans. It endured when Europe declared it apocrypha. It endured when soldiers set it on fire. It endured when missionaries tried to replace it. It endured when governments tried to silence the church. That is why today, whispers still surround it. The Ethiopian Bible has become a symbol of hidden wisdom, of suppressed truth, of Africa's resilience. It reminds us that history is written not just by the victors but also by the survivors. And Ethiopia survived. Its Bible survived. So the next time someone tells you there are only 66 books in the Bible, remember Ethiopia. Remember the books that were left out. Remember the flames that tried to destroy them, the councils that struck them out, the missionaries that condemned them. And then remember that against all odds, Africa kept them alive. That is why they say the Ethiopian Bible was banned. And that is why its story still matters today.